Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Happy Friday to you all. Today we're going to be going viewer requested ticker Friday. I'm actually going to try making this a series for all our viewers, that all the week's ticker requests that we have, we're going to compile them in one video so everyone can get their fill, and it's going to be like a Friday fun thing to do. So without further ado, let's dive into the video. And the first up is going to be Cube, C-U-B. So Cube on the daily is looking very strong. You are kind of fighting for that 250 weekly moving average right here, which we really have to see how many candle closes we get. Today we got basically 2 candle closes now below the 50, but you were in a strong uptrend, so you could see some consolidation in this region, or you could be coming back to retest this area of $43, $42.50. So bullish uptrend, now pulling back, similar to how the market's doing, kind of basing, falling down, basing, falling down. Some areas that I would be concerned once we start breaking through this key support level of the 50 daily moving average and the 200 daily moving average. I'd probably be looking at next support of $41.50 and then ultimately the 200 weekly. And everyone knows my stance on that. Once you get below that, it's pretty much a no-go for me. If we look at the long term, on the weekly, just to see if we get any more indications, you are making lower lows and lower highs. So this is a bearish trend here. You're making lower lows and then you're making lower highs. We have to be cautious. However, a week is not over. If Cube closes above $44.17 on the week, then we can basically say that it's a bullish bounce, or if we close below, then I'd be looking for lower prices around $42 to $43, and then see continuation if we continue down to the $40 price region. You are almost forming a W right here. However, because you are going sideways right here, I would consider this W not validated and more looking at a failed breakout to finding support. Depending where you find support, we could see bounces at different levels. If we look at Lux Algo to see what it's telling us, it's pretty bearish divergence on the, you have a pretty diverged MACD on the daily. You're probably going to have continuation of selling. That's why I don't think that 50 weekly is going to hold. RSI is crossing into the region of the bearish side, and oscillation has a couple more ways to go before it gets to a divergence point or really oversold. So I think this level of around probably the $41 to $42 would be a good price point to target for a bounce there. Now, if we don't, probably that region like we talked about of the $39 for the 200 weekly retest, along with having a price action zone and reversal zone probably all converging in that area, would definitely be a strong bounce, but that is a significant downside. You're talking about almost 11% downside there. So I think you could get a bounce off of your 200s and then probably come down later at a point. Next, we're going to go to TOST. So looking at this, it actually doesn't have a 200 weekly moving average because it hasn't been trading long enough to have a 200 weekly moving average. Pretty bearish right here. You had a big gap down on earnings, but you are starting to come up, try and fill it because of the earnings. I would consider this a dead cat bounce. You're around that 50 daily moving average, but there's not a lot of historical price action to support you in this region. And if we look back in history, this is kind of a region that you basically topped out at. So I wouldn't be surprised if you get a retest and come back down to your 50 weekly moving average and 200 daily and see some consolidation around that period, especially with the earnings being here. Probably picking it up around the $18 range wouldn't necessarily be a super bad idea, but I would definitely be looking to see if this upward trend line holds. If we break below those averages, do we break below the 17.3 region? Now let's take a look at Lux Algo real quick to see what it's telling us. Similar to what I expected, you have RSI on the bearish side. You have a MACD diverged from one another pretty far apart, and you're heading up. So I could see this as a dead cap coming back down to the $17.28 price action zone there. Overall, at that point, it would be an interesting pickup, but you probably would have to manage the risk very carefully. Now, let's say we crack the 1685 region. Probably we're coming down to this $13.89 region. If we look at the weekly, what it's telling us, you had a big push up, and this isn't the problem with trying to analyze these type of stocks, is you don't have a lot of historical price action, so you can't really tell what it's going to do on the long-term time frame. So there's high risk, high reward here. Me personally, anything below the $17 point on this company, I would be cautious getting in. I know I would have a very tight stop loss to maybe a couple points out, but I wouldn't necessarily go large on the position. I would keep the position size small. Next, we're going to go to PHM. So just looking at PHM initially, you did have this earnings gap here that you kind of almost filled. You still got a little more price action down here to go, and seeing how this sharp sell off, this could be a dead cat bounce that we come back and retest this 50-day moving average too. However, you were in a strong uptrend. If I were to draw out the long-term support trend right there, you've broken the trend of your uptrend, so now you're probably going to be coming down to the 50 daily or this uptrend that you were previously. If you break that uptrend, then you're definitely coming back down to this area of your SMAs. I do think one of those two does hold, and you could get a nice dip buying opportunity on PHM. Volume is decreasing, so you're going to probably start either seeing a reversal possibly here. So this could be a reversal. I'm leaning towards maybe not. I definitely see maybe another selling leg down and then volume coming down to reverse to the other side. For buyers, you really don't have a lot of price action here that's supporting buyers stepping in to over-conquer it. You're below the 21 moving average, so it really, you want to be above that for an uptrend. Now let's take a look at what Luxalgo is telling us for PHM. Similar to what I was saying, you have MACD diverge from one another. RSI has a little more room to go to get to the oversold side. That's why I would believe $50.23 or $50.98 to be more exact would be the perfect pickup in that area. That would be right at your moving average with the zone and the price target zone. I would expect to see MACD starting to curl, so you could possibly put a price target at $50. That could be a nice dip buying opportunity. Try to scoop up bottom and see if you don't break 49.50. Probably put your stop loss, I'm gonna guess, right around the $48 region, because that way we know we're coming back down to more significant prices down here at $44. However, if we come down here, I think RSI is going to be oversold, oscillation and MACD would be towards the bottoming phase. So definitely an interesting pickup there. If we look at the weekly, this is where I really get a little concerned, just because your MACD on the weekly is converging bearish and RSI was overbought. So you really have to be careful once trying to pick up at that 50 daily moving average. If it doesn't hold, which there is a possibility here based on the weekly, this is why I kind of preach going to the weekly chart, because it takes all the noise out. You did hit a reversal zone here, so now you could go lower, you could go higher. Your trend's at $50.71. It is cooling off, but you could easily get a MACD curling back up like that. It really depends on what the chart does. I'm not going to try predicting it based on what it's showing. I'm going to see how price reacts in this region and then go from there. Having tight stop loss again, probably be your best bet here. If you don't get stopped out, then you look for lower prices, because that MACD on the weekly is going to take you down further. I'd be looking to explore this region of the $44 price area. Next, we're going to do KALM. So CALM, which is Cal Maine Foods Inc. On the daily chart, it looks pretty choppy. I'm trying to see where are 200 weekly moving averages. Okay, down there. Just looking at this, you are trying to fill this previous earnings gap here, which you are, I believe you completely filled right now. No, you still got a little more to go. This could be a possible bull flag forming here, flagpole, flag, pushing higher to even new all-time highs. So if we actually draw this out, we could be seeing something like this, which if we take the flagpole, copy there, price target of about $68 to $70 region. So definitely something that to be on the lookout for, maybe a blue sky breakout. Now, if you fall below this level, I would say of $50.85, then I'd be looking for the 200 daily moving average retest. That'd probably be a strong area support, or even this pivot here of $58.24. That would probably come in line with some of your areas that you pivoted previously off of back here. Historically, you have a lot of price in that area, so it would be a strong position to put in at 58.24 as a possible bounce. So you could false break out the bottom of the flag, or even consolidate sideways and then push up higher. Looking bullish so far. Now let's take a look at what Luxalgo is saying. You are pretty diverged on the MACD in a bullish sense. I don't suspect this to curl right back over. You're starting to get overbought on the RSI, which could indicate some reversal pattern coming soon. However, MACD hasn't crossed and has more room to run, so definitely could be pushing up into this region and then have a pullback once you get to $64.72. That's where I would probably see break this flag, push up in this region, come back down, possibly push higher. Now, if we go to the where I would see support $53.31 once this MACD curves over. RSI, you probably get a lot of selling pressure once you get past down there. I don't, like I said before, I was thinking the $58 region would be an area where it would hold, but it'd be a kind of a stretch. I could see it, but again, you would want to see what price does. This price action zone would probably be a more confident buying point for me. But if you want to take a swing at it and understand the risk to go up further, it could be an interesting opportunity. On the weekly, you are crossing from a bearish to a bullish MACD, RSI, same thing. So that's why I'm really seeing that flag pattern could really play out, but you have to see what the chart's going to do. Once you break past that, probably that, like we said, $70 region, probably you get into this reversal zone, keep pushing up. I'd be taking profits at the 70 region just because that would be where your bull flag ends and where a nice profit taking opportunity could take. It would also be a blue sky breakout, so anyone that's short at the swing high here could definitely get squeezed out. Next, we're going to take a look at MED. So taking a look at MED here, which is Medfast Inc. Overall, you guys know my opinion of the 200 weekly. You're below it, it's a bearish stock. You're below all the moving averages, pretty bearish overall. I wouldn't be necessarily looking to pick this up until we get probably back to the COVID lows. That's where I'd be saying that's a pretty steep discount on it. You ran up like crazy, double peak. You could almost be forming head and shoulders here on the super long time frame, left shoulder head. Next time you push up, come back down. That's why it's so hard to recommend investing in anything like this, because you're below all the moving averages. You're below the super long-term price. So I see so many better opportunities out there. You almost have a head and shoulders, left shoulder, head, right shoulder breaking down. You're below the 50. I'm struggling to find a bullish case for this. Let's take a look at what Lux Algo is saying. Crossing on the MACD here to the bearish side. RSI isn't in bearish territory. And if we look at the daily, you kind of diverged bearish here. RSI is on the bearish side. You did have a nice push up, but you're heading towards this reversal zone here at $112 because you bounced in this previous buying area, which was off of earnings. So it could be going sideways and consolidating a region to try to maybe play a range for a long period of time, but it's so difficult to recommend a company until it gets above that 200. I really see other points in the market that have better value. That's just my opinion, and I think long term it's going to play out to the bearish side. Next, BCC. So this is what I call the kangaroo, guys. You have below between 3 different moving averages and you're kind of bouncing in between them. You're trying to fill this gap from the previous earnings, but you're kind of struggling in that sense. And also because it's a bearish earnings, and then you bounced off the 200 daily, came up, got rejected by the 50, and you're kind of in this no man's land. So you're really pretty simple trade. You get above the 50 and hold, push up, go below the 50 weekly and 200, probably going to be pushing down to the 200 weekly moving average, but pretty possibility for both, I would say. Probably coming back down to this 200 weekly. That's just what I'm seeing from the charts. From this perspective, let's take a look at the weekly, see what's happening there. You did almost form a W here where you had this W, but then you went sideways and kind of could be breaking out and creating steps, but because you came down here, not necessarily the best thing. You are forming lower lows here and higher highs. So now we need to see if we form a higher high or higher low. To me, if you take out this region of $66.33, it's going to be bearish. If you take out this region of $80, it'd probably be bullish. If you take out the $80 region, you're probably going to new all-time highs. Let's take a look what Lux Algo is telling us. So like we said in Kangaroo, towards the bearish side, because your MACD is diverged bearish, so definitely something I'd be cautious about. RSI is kind of all over the place, and you did hit a price action zone and bounced off of it, so that's why I say you could be going higher. And you do have a lot of these areas here as support as you climb the steps, so definitely looking more bullish now that I look at it. So probably the first support, $67.15 if you come down. Second support would be $63.35. And then I really don't think you would tap these because you're going to find buyers on the way here. Resistance, probably $83.64, which would bring you back to when you were making your last all-time high. Next, we're going to look at, all right, on MATX, you did break below the 50-day moving average, but you did find support pushing back up, you could almost be forming an M pattern here, which would be bearish, but you're trying to reclaim or invalidate that pattern. You did gap down, then gap back up above your 50 daily moving average. However, you are below two of your long-term moving prices. So there is definitely a downside here, potential. If you break below the 200 weekly moving average, I would basically be the get out point for the company. You did have this massive run up like similar companies 2021, 2022. That's why I'm saying we see so many of these charts that once you break below this, you come down and you really never get above it. So seeing where you are now, it's almost, you have to be very, very cautious that you don't break below this 200 weekly. And let's take a look what algo is telling us. MACD starting maybe to curl towards one another, and RSI heading into the bullish direction. So you could be pushing up towards this $69.93 on MATX, which is Matson Inc. If you clear that region, because it's such a small region, I would probably be pushing my next target to $75 as a selling point. And then next support would probably be $60.21. So it has a possibility to go both ways, but if we're going back down to $60.21, it puts us into this area here. So if it doesn't hold, it's pretty much a bearish close the position and get out type deal in my opinion. Next, VGR. So this actual company is a pretty interesting example of a company that gets above its 200 week and starts making forward progress. So you guys see, you broke below the 200 weekly, and it took you since that point to get back above it and start holding it again, approximately about 3 years to get back above it, 3 to 4 years. So this is why I always talk about 200 weekly moving average as a point of once you cross it, it's going to take you a long time to get back above it. And when you cross it, you're still from where you were to current price, you're still down 25%. It's not as bad as a haircut as you were before, but definitely something to look out for. How easy to invest in the stock once it breaks above the 200 weekly, have a nice bullish run. Everyone's trying to get in. It's really, really simple. Kind of beating a dead horse here. All right, now let's get to VGR. So you're in a strong uptrend. You're having a pullback now. You could be flagging out to then flag out, pull down, push up higher. Very real possibility. You could be coming back to retest this 21 moving average and possibly coming down to $13.13 here for the swing point here that you had before. If you don't bounce at that point, probably your 50 daily moving average, because you haven't retested in a good period, it's going to be a strong bounce. And you're making forward progress with these moving averages. You really want them to start pushing back up higher and prices to continue buy the stock. Now let's take a look at some of the resistance points. Oh, this is an interesting picture. You're gap filling. You're gap filling a really big gap. So there's a very high probability that this thing keeps pushing up. You don't have a lot of price action all the way to $16.91. And you're pretty much in this no man's land zone here that was formed basically once you gapped up and then came back down. There is almost no price action here. So definitely bullish right now. This is pretty bullish. It'd actually be interesting to see what algo is telling us. You're pushing up, your MACD is curling towards one another, but you really have the potential to go push up higher. You could be flagging out to push up higher here. MACD hasn't crossed bearish yet or converged to one another. RSI has potential to continue to go to the oversold side. Now, if we don't find buyers here and we exhaust and then come back down to $12.69, which I really find a very low probability. Trend strength's 92% and you're bouncing off the trend. It really, right now is actually an excellent time to get in with a stop loss basically being once you create a new low, 1359, 50 to 60 cent stop loss on it. So it's not the end of the world. Definitely something that I'd be looking at because there's no price action once you get back above here and going up higher. Probably I'm actually going to take a look at this as a buy because this is really, really fascinating, guys. For me, I definitely be looking. I got to see what the option chains are on it, but a strong push up and it definitely has the ability to continue. Let's just look at the weekly just to, oh, excellent weekly. You're MACD is converging back, trying to push back bullish. However, your RSI is on the overbought territory, so you do have to be cautious. However, stocks can stay the overbought for an extended period of time before they actually go back down. That's why I'm saying you could have a significant push up, probably to this $15, $67 region. Once this MACD starts to curl back one towards another, then I'd be looking to get out and then re-enter at a later point. Next, we're going to go to APA. Looking at this, guys, it's kind of a polar opposite of VGR. You're below all the moving averages. You're heading probably towards this 200 weekly moving average. You did have a lot of gaps right here, so this is just looking bearish overall. You may come back and reject off of your 200 daily and 50 weekly at the same time. That's why looking at this, you had a consolidation here, and then you're ripping down lower. I'm seeing a lot of bearishness there. And if we look at the long-term time frame, if you look at where your long-term support is, you're coming down probably to this $31 region and 92 cents. You break that, 200 is next stop. Definitely looking bearish to me. And on the weekly, if we look at where we came from, it's one of those companies that broke down below its 200 for a significant period of time, breaking back above it. So it could be, since this is your first breakout, you could be coming back, going below it, coming back, similar to how VGR was, but it's going to take a significant amount of time to get back. Overall prognosis looks pretty bearish here. First resistance point 41.28, second 43.63, just a simple moving averages, and then a lot of price actions here. Lux Alga, what is it telling us? So we got a buy signal heading towards this region. MACD is starting to curl towards one another, but you could have more potential for downside. That's why I'm saying more of a dead cat bounce. And RSI has more potential to get to the oversold side. First price actions on, like I said, 47.73, be an area that I'd be looking for the rejection off of. The daily, similar to the weekly, you did hit a reversal zone, so that's why you pretty much bounced. MACD, you could cross bullish to get that, come back up, reject off your moving averages, and then head lower. Or if you get above them, probably that 50 daily moving average. This is just a lot of chop for me that I really don't like investing in long term. If we look at the weekly, you are pretty much in a bearish downtrend right now. If you manage to break this downtrend right here on the weekly, that's when I would be looking to go more entry long positions, but I don't believe you're going to get there. I think you're heading down possibly lower to this even $25 region down here. Would probably be an interesting swing point there. So guys, next we're gonna take a quick little thought for today. If you didn't know, it's PCE day. What could the market do? This is gonna be a little tidbit that I'm giving all our viewers real quick. If you stay to the end of the video, your S&P is above the 50 weekly moving average. However, you need 2 daily closes to confirm that. QQQ rejected perfectly at the 50 weekly moving average. So basically PCE is going to be the deciding factor. I personally think that PCE is going to come in hotter than expected and the market basically going to come crashing down. I could be wrong for all we know, guys, but CPI and PPI have been telling us a very different story. And also the tone in the Federal Reserve has changed drastically. Be honest with you, this could come crashing down very hard with the momentum of PCE, with how tightly wound the market is. I could easily see a 2.5% day on the NASDAQ, which would put us right below our 200-day moving average. We'd probably be coming back to this weekly and 50 previous area of support. S&P, we probably break below the 50, maybe find support around the 200, and that would probably start excessive selling, probably retesting back to this $380 to $385 region. Or we could get a complete rip up. It's a 50-50 split of what you get. You have increasing bearish volume, so we could be setting up for the next leg down, or we could be reversing. Seeing how the trend is your friend, basically, you're in a downtrend, volume's increasing, prices going down. So you're definitely seeing volume confirming price, so we could see continuation there. I don't see a very blissful picture for PCE. By the time you guys are watching this video, it could honestly be over. So we're going to be doing our weekend deep dive tomorrow afternoon, which you'll see on Saturday morning. So we're going to be talking about PCE, what the market did. So stay tuned for that. If you guys like this type of content and are a new viewer, we're going to be doing this every Friday for you. If you have a ticker, just throw it down in the comment section below. If you like this type of content, let us know. If you're a current viewer and subscriber, Let us know what you think down in the comment section below of this type of style and series. We got a lot of stuff planned for the channel, so definitely stay tuned and hit the like button, guys, if you can, because it really helps the YouTube algorithm out. And with that, guys, I bid you farewell and happy Friday to you all.